Election death in Western Highlands as PPC issues warning. Electoral roll found on PNGDF soldiers in Kokopo. And Catholic Church protests deportation of lay missionary.
This is National MTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Tuesday's news. One man is dead and several others are injured at Tambul Station in Western Highlands Province. Western Highlands Provincial Police Commander Chief Superintendent Martin Lakari confirmed that it was election-related. Several district houses were also torched by supporters of a candidate from the Tambul Nebilia electorate.
PPC Lakari confirmed that last Wednesday at the Tambul station, supporters of two candidates provoked each other, resulting in a shootout between the two factions that saw one man killed and several others injured. Two men were severely injured and are receiving intensive care at the Mount Hagen General Hospital. This is the first election-related death so far in Western Highlands Province.
Reports have been channeled to Police Investigative Task Force, and the matter is under investigation, and the investigation will reveal who should be responsible, and those that are responsible will be picked up and will be interviewed and will be charged.
MTV News tried to get comments from the two factions, the sitting member for Tambul Nebilia Electorate, Benjamin Poponawa, and his rival candidate, James Kennedy. MTV could not get the sitting member's comment as one of his supporters was shot dead. However, James Kennedy said he would not accept the responsibility of killing a man and paying compensation. He might have his own reasons, but he said that they were provoked by the supporters of the sitting member while convoying to Tambul to launch his campaign posters. Kennedy said there was a big stone fight, and during the fight, one of Poponawa's men was shot with a gun.
Life is something that is you cannot measure. You cannot measure life with money or peak or, vote lo people or kind of thing. Now Mr. Blom, lo milo compensate, me willing is life here, I really, me willing and big plus something through it. It's not about money, it's not about car. So one day come up, you are absolutely awesome, I am really something, you're talking about lives, life of people. And this one, I didn't do it. Why not me by accepting responsibility and I mean by compensate just like that? Why? So that cause has to be found out. Police must work in good work, and find him out.
PPC Lakari is warning both candidates to bring in suspects or police will use their powers to arrest both leaders.
Instead of criminal code, you make a charge more of this law, because this law so-called supporter working illegal activity, working law name law this law, man candidate, yeah. Osemna candidate, you are not immune from any act or omissions.
Meanwhile, a vehicle was set alight last Friday at the Kaiway Betelnut Market outside Mount Hagen City. Police believe the vehicle belonged to Hagen Open sitting member William Duma. Lakari said supporters of another candidate resorted to violence by torching the vehicle. Vasinata Yama, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
For the first time in the history of the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, command and control during the national elections will come from the divisional commanders and provincial police commanders. Western Highlands Provincial Police Commander Chief Superintendent Martin Lakari is warning candidates and supporters in Western Highlands Province to behave during this period. Lakari said, starting today, the police, PNG Defence Force and Correctional Service personnel will do random vehicle checks within the province.
At least 100 PNGDF soldiers, correctional service and mobile squads have arrived in Mount Hagen to assist the Electoral Commission as a response unit in the Highlands. The mobile squads units have already been deployed to the other 7 Highlands provinces as of yesterday. PPC Lakari said starting today, the security forces will conduct dawn raids on suspicious hotspots of crime and illegal activities in the province. Random vehicle checks will also be conducted to find people in possession of illegal firearms and other weapons.
And I have issued specific orders to the security personnel to stop and search all the vehicles. They will search for any offensive weapons in the vehicles, and also I've instructed them to remove all the bushy vehicles. The vehicles that are covered with bush leaves and all this will be eliminated as of now and onwards, because this will cause another provocation, is provoke situation to other rival candidates, and also it will cause obstruction to drivers who can cause accident.
Lakari said police bail on minor crimes such as assault, petty crimes, drunk and disorderly, and other major crimes will increase from 200 kina to 1,000 kina and above. He said police will refuse bail on those who are found to be in possession of unlicensed firearm. They will be freed after the declaration. Those campaign vehicles with bush leaves and trees are also asked to be removed or face penalty by the security forces.
I will never give them any constitutional rights for them to go out and vote for their candidates of their choice, because this is their privilege. Their privileges has already been removed by doing illegal thing or by carrying a gun. So their privileges of thinking of voting a person of their choice will never be allowed.
PPC Lakari said he is confident that he will have enough security personnel on the ground to provide a free, fair and safe election. However, he urged candidates to take full responsibility and control their supporters and the illegal activities. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
People's National Congress candidates contesting in the 2017 national elections continue to receive political support from party leader and Prime Minister Peter O'Neill. In the past 3 days, Jiwaka and Simbu were visited for campaign rallies. PNC's key message, the continuation and reaffirmation of its key policies if power is retained for the ruling coalition-led government.
Thousands gathered at Gumini for the PNC rally. Sitting Gumini MP Nick Kuman and party leader Prime Minister Peter O'Neill are maintaining the PNC bond with just over 2 weeks away from the polls. The PNC leader and sitting Yalibu Pange MP says other political parties have criticized PNC, but it will continue its policies to serve the rural population.
So time only come na talk say Molba work in the second work, Molba work in the second work. Please ask him more. Last 40 years only stop the way.
PNC has maintained its key policies in the education and health sector in its campaign rallies. The Prime Minister says other political parties can have their say but must prove it when in power. Mr. O'Neill also rebutted claims on the current state of the economy.
So no can RM Gaman Toto Blolman or say economy bagrab, country bagrab, no that. Economy yes, I'm slowly click. I'm shall go up and down over the time. You know, one plus something by embassy down one plus level that's all no that. And by go up and down here. Behind time too.
With just over 2 weeks away from the polling, sitting Gumini MP and Education Minister Nick Kuman says PNC policies will continue for a better future for PNG.
Mibla by continue to make sure that by Mibla delivering same policies people blocks the country. More than 8 million you go inside of the country. You go along Gumini, now you go along Simbu, now all of Papua New Guinea.
The visit from Gumini continued to Jiwaka's capital, Banj. Jack Lapava Jr. National EMTV News.
Stage 2 of the Koki Fish Market in Port Moresby will feature a restaurant. Sitting member for Moresby South, Justin Chechenko, made this announcement during his rally at Fisherman Island over the long weekend. Confident of retaining his seat, Chechenko said the seaside restaurant will be a tourist attraction that will benefit the people of Moresby South.
The rally was attended by an energetic crowd who carried the sitting member from the boat to the stage on a platform. Delivering his speech at Fisherman Island, sitting member for Mosby South, Justin Chichenko, said the market was a success story in the electorate. He said the market generates an income of around 2 million kina a month. Funded under the Mosby South DSIP funds, the fish market has economically benefited coastal villages in the Mosby South electorate, including the people of Fisherman Island.
Yes, we had our bit of issues in the beginning, sorting out where people are going to sell and other things like that. But it has really done us well. And in the next 5 years, I am working with the National Fisheries Authority again to build one more fish market in the same location. And that is to expand the current fish market with the same sort of building, but in front of it, towards the sea, where we will have a restaurant and a sales area and more fishing place.
Chichenko, who is confident of returning to office, says his focus areas will be the extension of the fish market, working more closely with the women community, clean water supply, and providing boats and fishing gear for villagers who depend on fishing as a means of income. Stressing the PNC party policies on education and health, Mr. Chichenko highlighted some of the services delivered on the island.
So we built you the brand new classrooms, and as I said, we brought you up the health center. For the health center, the brand new house that you built yourself. And I congratulate the former chairman. I congratulate the former chairman and all the builders and all the Mokele people that built the new health center. That center is for you to ensure that you have the right medicine and also the right service right here at your doorstep in your community.
Marilyn Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
Motukoitabuan villagers in Hanwabara want a voice in Parliament. They say for far too long, issues affecting Motukoitabuans have been neglected by political leaders. They expressed this on the campaign trail for Northwest candidate Eddie Ayla.
Eddie Ayla's campaign has drawn strong feedback at Hanwabara village. In an exchange with the locals, many question those who have been in power given the less attention in the past 5 years.
We own this land, but we have been waved out. There's so many issues over there in their side. They can stand up in Parliament and fight for it. And the fundings go out there. They use it nicely and correctly. What about us?
Hanwabara has been at the center of many controversial issues: land grabbing, boy band related deaths, and the rise in alleged sex trades. Many residents want a voice in Parliament for a reason.
You will help a lot of youth, you will help change a lot of lives, and you will, because we have this problem or issues about youth and family violence and sexual violence and stuff, I'm pretty sure.
Ayla is contesting the Northwest seat for the first time. He says Motukoitabuans have been left out for too long.
We have no participation. We are dying on our ground right now. We have nothing.
Ayla's strategy in delivering services is to break down the current education and health system so small communities benefit.
We want to move the health system away from the hospitals, bring it into the local communities.
Less than 2 weeks remain before the polls open. Ayla hopes Motukoitabuans will vote wisely and see a representation in the 10th Parliament.
It is us being confused and having beliefs that are not strong, that think we are powerless. And we destroy ourselves every day. So we are saying, Motukoita, take back your life. Build yourself up.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
Kerawagi candidate Barry Palma has submitted an application to the Supreme Court following his insolvency ruling earlier this month. Palma has also asked his supporters to remain calm and not stir up violence in Kerawagi during the campaign and polling period. The courts found Barry Palma guilty after failing to pay the taxed costs of nearly 300,000 kina following an election petition against sitting Kerawagi MP Camillus Dangma.
The Supreme Court will deal with this, basically because the review of that matter is still on foot. So that amount has not been determined yet. So that's the bottom line. So the legal process is still going on.
National MTV News continues after the break. The Catholic Church questions deportation of a missionary, weather delays sinking of illegal vessels, and showcasing MTV's international award, Driving the Change. Welcome back to National MTV News. 20 former and 3 active PNGDF officers are currently being detained at Kokopo Police Station for being in possession of Electoral Commission classified documents. PNG Electoral Commission has confirmed that the documents in possession with them were an electoral roll for the Namatanai open seat. The 23 men were said to be contracted with National Alliance Party President and candidate for Namatanai, Walter Schnobelt.
Provincial Police Commissioner for East New Britain, Joseph Tabali, says the officers were in possession of electoral verification forms, tally forms and candidate posters, and the 3 serving soldiers were to be handed over to military police tomorrow. The 23 were apparently contracted by the National Alliance Party President and candidate for Namatanai, Walter Schnobelt, but the PPC added that no charges were being laid for the ex-PNGDF and they will soon be released. MTV News spoke with Electoral Commission Media Officer Alphonse Muapi, who said Kokopo Election Manager Joab Voivoi had confirmed the 23 officers were in possession of a journal-type booklet which contained the electoral roll for Namatanai. Muapi also stated that the electoral roll was a public document, but the Electoral Commissioner had not authorized the distribution to publics, and the roll in their possession was not an approved roll by the Electoral Commissioner Patilies Gamato. Meanwhile, National Alliance Party President and candidate for Namatanai, Walter Schnobelt, said in a media statement that he wasn't involved in any illegal activity that had any relations to the election. He also stated that he believed police actions in Kokopo was politically related as the ex-PNGDFs were employed by his SOS security and no formal charges are being laid against them. He also went on to say the 2 other active PNGDF officers were on leave break and had applied to work in his security firm as a driver and bodyguard. Schnobelt also accusing the PPC Tabali of not being truthful when he said that important documents belonging to the Electoral Commission have been found on this group. The National Alliance Party President's comments are in contradiction to the election manager in Kokopo, who confirmed the electoral roll was confiscated from the PNGDF ex and current officers. This also brings up the issue of how the electoral roll for Namatanai was given to the Schnobelt team, and if it was illegal, what the charges would be. Adelaide Sorokskari, National MTV News.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference is questioning the deportation of a lay missionary. The lay missionary, Douglas Tennant, was working with the Archdiocese of Rabaul when he was deported over the long weekend. Today, the president of CBC, Bishop Rokus Tatamai, said the whole process taken to deport the lay missionary is highly suspicious.
This amateur video shows Douglas Tennant being picked up by immigration officials in Vunapope. The Archbishop of Rabaul, Francesco Panfilo, said in a statement yesterday that they do not know what crime Tennant has committed. Up until his deportation, the New Zealander was working as an administrator with the Rabaul Archdiocese. He was also providing legal advice to the Archdiocese on land issues. Panfilo's statement says the deportation is a surprise because the first day ahead of the deportation was on Friday, the 9th of June, and Tennant was ordered to leave the country within the Queen's birthday weekend. He was deported yesterday. CBC President Bishop Rokus Tatamai says this raises a lot of questions.
Why was the normal processes of good governance and proper processes of law being ignored? Why it was executed in a time in which you have the long weekend and there was no opportunity for this Mr. Doug tenant to have a voice and even the Archdiocese of Rabaul.
Tenant's entry permit was cancelled because it was cited that there was blatant abuse of his conditions of visa by engaging in sensitive landowner issues in East New Britain.
Ever since this issue was brought up by the landowners, by the people of West Pomio, they were brought up to the Archdiocese of Rabaul, and the Archbishop asked Mr. Tenant to help out because he himself was a lawyer. So he did it at the instruction of the Archbishop of Rabaul. So if anybody has to be deported, it should be Archbishop of Rabaul, not Mr. Doug Tenant. He carried out the orders of Archbishop. And so Archbishop is sorry that the wrong man was sent. He says, if you want to deport me, you deport me, because I'm the one who gave the orders. And the Archdiocese is helping those voiceless people.
I am allowing the Archdiocese of Rabaul and Archbishop of Rabaul, Archbishop Francisco Pampilo, to take the lead in whatever next course of action, but we will be supporting them, and we will call upon all the resources we have, because this is one of our other opportunities to expose ourselves, to really say, who are we about, our people or some people else? Are we representing our own people or foreign interests? These are my questions.
Sarah Aupong, National MTV News.
Port Moresby police have retrieved the vessel that was reported missing on Saturday, the 10th of June. The vessel, named Aquatica, was carrying 4 men and was last seen departing the Royal Papua Yacht Club on the morning of the 10th of June. From the 4 men that went missing, only one, a Papua New Guinean, managed to swim to Idiha Island. A joint search of the 3 missing persons still continues. Assistant Police Commissioner Sylvester Clout and a team of police officers retrieved the vessel today near the PNG LNG site. On a related note, the National Maritime Safety Authority has issued strong warnings to small boat operators to practice sea safety during this recent windy period. The warning comes after a boat carrying 4 men was reported missing over the weekend. NMSA General Secretary Paul Onas urged small boat operators in maritime provinces to comply with sea safety measures, including overloading and carrying enough fuel. Strong winds and massive waves made it difficult for the PNG Defence Force and National Fisheries Authority to destroy 2 illegal fishing vessels yesterday. The joint task is a result of a district court order to sink the vessels after the 50 illegal Vietnamese fishermen on board those vessels were sentenced to 4 years imprisonment.
It started off with a smooth ride from the Basilic Naval Base towards the open seas. Naval officers on board HMPNGS Buna tied the 2 illegal boats alongside the port of Buna before heading out. After 2 hours, the seas started to get rough. There were very strong winds with huge swells hitting against the naval vessel. The naval officers then moved to Plan B, which was to tow the boats through the rough seas. The mission to sink the illegal boats continued for at least 1 more hour before sailors were faced with yet another challenge. The tow line snapped, cutting off the illegal vessels from Buna, and the waves were too strong, tossing the naval vessel from side to side. After 3 attempts to continue the journey, all the lines on board Buna broke away, forcing PNGDF and NFA to abort the mission and return to Port Moresby. After 3 attempts to continue the journey, all the lines on board Buna broke away, forcing PNGDF and NFA to abort the mission and return to Port Moresby. These boats were seized during a border operation between PNG Defence Force and Australian border authorities in December 2016. The illegal fishermen on board those vessels were found guilty of stealing sea cucumbers off the coast of Milne Bay. All were sentenced to 4 years imprisonment and are currently serving their jail terms at Bomana Prison. The court order to sink the vessels is a strong message the district courts in PNG is sending to illegal fishermen from Asian countries not to steal marine resources in PNG waters. Takla Gunga, National MTV News.
A growing coffee enterprise has received an export license and is looking forward to growth in the PNG economy. But its owner says there are challenges that come from the lack of government support. EMTV's Business PNG recently spoke to Superior Coffee. Bethany Harriman with this report.
A coffee enterprise in Port Moresby brings beans from the Eastern Highlands province to roast and sell. Superior Coffee Limited recently got its own export license and looks forward to the emerging markets. To reach those markets, Managing Director David Vaso says the coffee sector needs more government help.
Drinking coffee, if all Papua New Guinea, 8 million Papua New Guineans drinking coffee in the morning and for lunch and for afternoon tea, we can run this country on coffee alone. When you put the figures together.
But the company is looking forward to greater markets to export its coffee beans. General Manager Romias Waki says Papua New Guinea coffee can compete in the world.
And I'm thinking, in Papua New Guinea, if we can get to consume half of our production, it's going to change the way we do coffee business in this country. We may move towards a model that's now been used in the African countries.
Papua New Guinea exports 1 million bags of coffee annually. After the drought last year, coffee exports raked over $500 million kina in total revenue. The sector could have made more last year if the Highlands Highway wasn't cut off by landslides and floods. Generally, Papua New Guinea's agricultural sector remains underdeveloped. In the early 60s through to the late 70s, it was the backbone of the economy. Today, the billion kina unsustainable extractive industry generates the revenue and sometimes government infrastructure support. But with the decline in world oil, gas and mineral prices, Papua New Guinea's economy is now struggling more than ever before. Now with the elections, there is a shift in policy thinking, and it's coming out in the campaign rhetoric. Many speak of a more sustainable economy with roots tapping into agriculture. But for now and into the immediate future, the crop making the foray into the world market is Papua New Guinea coffee. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
Important players in the agriculture sector are calling on the government to give the sector tax cuts similar to that enjoyed by mining and petroleum. The CEO of Fresh Produce Development Agency, Mark Warrinu, says the sector needs significant tax reductions to encourage growth. While 80% of Papua New Guineans directly work in agriculture, the costs of transport, equipment and tools remain high.
In the heart of Goroka, the Fresh Produce Development Agency is building a new headquarters. Since its establishment 29 years ago, the agency has been helping farmers build a food supply network from producers to consumers. The work is slow and sometimes thankless, but the FPDC has seen its share of successes.
10 years back, we were focused on production, but then in the last 3-4 years, we have changed that focus. And we have now, looked at the value chain framework, the concept.
Despite being the home of the oldest agriculture civilization in the world, Papua New Guinea's agriculture sector still remains underdeveloped in the 21st century. And while political rhetoric has been strong, funding support has been very limited. This has prompted key stakeholders like the FPDC CEO to call for tax exemptions for the agriculture sector, tax exemptions like those enjoyed by the mineral and petroleum sectors.
Maybe 60%, 70%, that should be adequate. But let's start the process. There's never been any considered thought on giving incentive to the sector in terms of supporting the farmers.
Agriculture Secretary Dr. Vele Ilaava is supporting the call for tax exemptions. He says the absence of tax cuts has made the biggest sector in the country unattractive for entrepreneurs and school leavers.
It is important that we get the tax incentives packaged so that we can attract foreign investors to come in and invest in the sector.
Farmers are also plagued with constant storage and transport problems. Between Port Moresby and the farmers, there is very little understanding of the difficulties faced by them.
We are all talking different indicators. When you talk about economic growth, in Wagana it's GDP. Farmers don't give a damn about GDP. They're more worried about money in their pockets.
Those within the sector say compared to mining and petroleum, there isn't a coordinated representation at the top level, and any talk about exemptions fall through very quickly. And while the experts have called for exemptions, there has to be the political will to make it happen through legislative amendments. Scott White, National MTV News, Goroka.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3145 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.307 $0.4041 Australian dollars, €0.2709 and 33.41 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold closed lower, while coffee, cocoa and copper closed the day higher. Palm oil closed lower, while crude oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 36 points lower, the ASX closed 82 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 75 points higher. National MTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. The people of Yalumet Station in the Kabum district of Morbe province witnessed the opening of the station's mini hydro project. The hydro is expected to power up the health center, school and LLG office and was funded through the PSIP and district project funds.
Nestled in the hinterlands of the Morbe province is this government station, one of Morbe's rural communities in the Komba LLG of the Kabum district. This is Yalumet. The people of Yalumet have already been drawn to the airstrip by the sound of the chopper, a sight that is common in many rural parts of the country. The locals gathered to witness the opening of the Yalumet mini hydro project, a project that has taken 13 months to complete and will now provide electricity for the village.
I'm really reliable along. I can produce about 15 kVA power capacity long.
The hydro will generate enough electricity to power up the health center, the primary school and the LLG office. Costing 750,000 kina, the project was co-funded by the provincial government through the PSIP and district project funds. Although the locals now celebrate the opening of this project, the challenges faced in taking on such a task where roads lack cannot be avoided.
Actually, the project site we now hydro sanapong. I mean, take him 2 kilometers lo walkabout. Me plab in Karem na walkabout. Na machine na blo Karem this la something nikam lo where project site na ba mi pla sanapim bat. Me plab in use manpower lo Karem because aminoga road condition.
Lucy Kopana, National MTV News, Ley.
Edaranu Managing Director Henry Mokono says the National Capital District Commission must engage with Edaranu before undertaking major construction. This is in relation to the partial road closure of the main road in the town CBD area in Port Moresby caused by damages to Edaranu's water pipes. Mr. Mokono said it will cost Edaranu about $500,000 kina to seal the road after the pipeline repairs.
Mr. Mokono and other members of the Edaranu management team visited Champion Parade in the heart of the Port Moresby CBD area. They were there to get first-hand update on the work being done on the pipes that were damaged from the new road.
So my appeal here generally to NCDC for the city manager to take note of this. If there's going to be any new roads built in NCDC, as the utility company responsible for water and sewage in the city, we must be involved from the start. If there's any design defects, our engineers will assist NCDC engineers as well as the construction company's engineers. So we get the design done properly from the start so we don't face similar problems in future.
Mr. Mokono said Edaranu is in consultation with NCDC to ensure they are involved from the design phase to the construction phase of any major physical development. However, Mr. Mokono highlighted that their biggest problem is the NCDC Act that does not allow utility companies to be on the physical planning board.
The Fiscal Planning Board within NCDC, for some reason, the Act doesn't allow a representative from Electoral, or for that matter, other utility companies. I think the Act stipulates that they include other members of community, women, youth, and business, and all this. But they haven't allowed for utility companies like Electoral, which play an important part in the development of this city. Really, we need to work hand in hand in delivering, rolling out our services.
In the meantime, the areas along Champion Parade, Pacific Place, Era Romana, Steamships Plaza and Burnt House will be experiencing low water pressure or no water supply this week due to the maintenance work on the Champion Parade water mains. Water cuts will supply water to affected areas where necessary, while traffic access through Champion Parade will be partially closed and Hunter Street will have one-way traffic only.
They will be without water as the line will be pressure tested. There's very little it has to be done. Pressure testing has to be done, and that's why the water is off in that particular area. We are supplying water carts to the area. Pressure testing, we are hoping we'll be able to complete it tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday afternoon.
Edaranu has advised the general public that road access to Champion Parade will also be closed on Saturday 17th June and Saturday 24th June for resealing works by Global Construction. Deli Waigeno, National, MTV News.
Turning overseas now, and in Russia, hundreds of anti-corruption demonstrators have been arrested after thousands took to the streets in Moscow, St. Petersburg and several other cities. Witnesses described riot police packing protesters at random and detaining them.
1 mile from the Kremlin, a public holiday turned into a public battle. Russia Day is supposed to be a national celebration. But riot police were sent in to clear anti-government protesters from Moscow's main street. Thousands had come to accuse the Russian leadership of corruption. Putin is a thief, they shouted, and 1, 2, 3, Putin, it's time to leave. Families accidentally caught up in the violence fled. Police detained hundreds of protesters. There were anti-corruption demonstrations in more than 100 Russian towns. As for the man who'd organised this nationwide protest, opposition leader Alexei Navalny, he was detained as he left home. Vladimir Putin said nothing today about the protests. Instead, he played tour guide in the Kremlin to a group of children. This is how President Putin would rather be seen, not as a corrupt leader, but as father of the nation. And certainly not everyone today was in the mood to criticise the government. In Moscow, this patriotic festival, on the same street as the protest, was celebrating Russian military might. Protests don't make life better, he says. Not one revolution has ever brought anything good. Up the road, this was no Russian revolution, but it was a display of defiance from those people, many of them young Russians, who believe their country needs change.
You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is up next. We'll bring you some updates after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. To the NRL, Canterbury coach Des Hasler is relieved after his side defeated the St. George Illawarra Dragons 16 points to 2 in the last match of round 14 yesterday. After a bad beating of 38-0 from the Penrith Panthers last week, the Dogs entered the match determined to make a statement. The Dragons secured 2 points before a break through a Gareth Widdop conversion following a penalty. Both teams then went to the break without scoring any try. In the second half, capitalizing on Dragons' lack of possession, the Dogs brought home 3 tries, one of which was unconverted. To State of Origin now, the Queensland Maroons have made changes to their side before Game 2 next week. The most notable being the inclusion of Jonathan Thurston and Billy Slater.
Who knows
He might be joined by that man for Origin 2.
Billy Slater will start at fullback, which will see Darius Boyd play in the centres or on the wings. Jonathan Thurston's inclusion will play an integral part to the team in Game 2. A couple of players have been dropped from the team, including Sam Thaiday, who has played 29 games for Queensland. The Maroons' only try scorer in Game 1, Corey Oates, has also been replaced with Australian winger Valentine Holmes. Nate Miles, Aidan Guerra, Jacob Lilliman and Justin O'Neill have also been dropped from the team. Anthony Milford will not be part of the team after suffering a shoulder injury. New South Wales coach Laurie Daly says the Maroons have named a much stronger team for Game 2 and says it will be difficult. The Blues have named an unchanged team from Game 1 after their historic win in Brisbane.
Oh, there he is! Up in the crowd he goes!
Elijah Levitt, National, MTV Sports.
We go for a break now. Trukai Sports continues after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sport. Now an update on the OFC World Cup qualifier currently being played in Port Moresby. The score is 2-1 in favor of Solomon Islands in extra time. Papua New Guinea is down by 1 man. Now the match will be replayed at 8:30 p.m. right here on MTV, so stay tuned. Moving on, still in football, the Portugal squad has gathered to begin their preparation for the Confederations Cup 2017 in Russia. Most players began training on the pitch, but Cristiano Ronaldo was only briefly seen before he went to the gym.
Pepe and Cedric Soares were both absent from training with injuries, but coach Fernando Santos said they would be fit for the Confederations Cup. Santos said he had total confidence in his players and believed Portugal, the Euro 26 title holders, were a candidate to win the cup.
O que eu tenho é uma confiança plena na minha equipa, na capacidade dos meus jogadores, no meu trabalho, no trabalho da minha equipa técnica. E desde que aqui chegámos, sempre, logo no primeiro dia que fui apresentado ao serviço da seleção, sempre disse que Portugal, comigo, sempre iria entrar em cada jogo para o vencer. E é isso que vamos fazer.
The Confederations Cup is a competition held by the World Cup hosts 1 year before that tournament starts. It acts as a dress rehearsal to test the stadiums, ticketing and organization with a year remaining. 8 teams have qualified to play in Russia, representing the different theaters of football around the world. Germany and Portugal represent Europe, Russia are the hosts, and the other teams are Australia, Cameroon, Chile, Mexico and New Zealand. Portugal departs Russia on June the 14th and 4 days later have their first match in the competition against Mexico. Russia and New Zealand are the other 2 teams in Group A. Jeremy Moggy, National TV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. Don't go anywhere. Up next, the all-important weather report. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a look at the weather for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Port Moresby, Daru, Kerama, cloudy at times with a top of 31 degrees. Some showers in Alotau with a top of 31, a shower or 2 in Popondetta. To the Momasa region, mostly fine in Ley and Wau. Fine weather expected in Madang, Wewak and Vanimo as well. To the New Guinea Islands region, fine weather in Lorengau and Kavieng, a shower or 2 for Kokopo and Rabaul, mostly fine in Kimbe, a shower or 2 in Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centers can expect fine weather over the next 24 hours. To a look at the forecast for small ships, but first there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, Yule Island to Hood Point. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, to Kerma, Yule Island to Hood Point, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters east of Hood Point to Samarai Island and with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Island, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finchafen, with waters of Bogia to Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo, and northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, Dampier Strait, including Siasi to Long Island to Medang to Bogia, seas 1.5 to 2.5 meters, and waters of New Island to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas rather rough with southeasterly winds at 20 to 25 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight with southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas slight to moderate with southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with easterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
EMTV, in partnership with the United Nations, showcased the International Award for Best Documentary that was picked up at the World TV Awards in China last week. The EMTV crew and United Nations Representative Coordinator Roy Trivedi exhibited the award today. We'll bring you that story in our bulletin tomorrow. But that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 13th of June. From the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.